Hello everyone. In this video we're going to do the second exercise of the fourth homework assignment, and this one is really fun, I guess. It includes a lot of interesting tricks and stuff, I guess. So I mean, whatever. They give us an attached file, multiplication table .txt, which you can see I have here on my desktop, and it wants us to do a 50 by 50 multiplication table stored as a string that can be accessed by Python and stored in the variable myString with these two simple lines of code. And the goal here is that you have the string loaded in memory, implement a Python program that takes every element and it stores it in a 50 by 50 two-dimensional list. So basically a multiplication table. Okay, so let's get started. First you have to have this file here, and make sure you have this file in the same folder as you'll have your file for your Python code. So I have these both on my desktop. You can see here's a code file, and here's a multiplication file for that. So that way we can just copy this and then put it in our file here, right? And this is wrong, it's just R. So we have this, and I'm gonna print this out, right? And the variable here is myString, and this is essentially how it looks. It looks pretty intimidating at first, but it's when you break it down, it's quite simple and pretty interesting. So let's create a list. I'll create a list called L, and now they want us to do M. So this one wants to do M, so we'll do M, capital M, and then we do I'm going to start an index because we're going to use that later. And then we're going to do a split. So if you notice here, the assignment wants us to do is then store like stuff like this in list within a list. So like 1 through 50, 2 through 100, 3, and so on and so on. And it does this for us here, where at the end of the equal sign, or prior to it, it's where our first list should be. And then same thing here where the second list should be, and then same thing here, and so on and so on. So we're gonna do a split, and we're gonna then reassign it. So we'll do myString, and we'll do that equals myString dot split, and what we're gonna split is at the equal sign. So now when I do myString, oops. Now you can see here, these are separated. There's no equal sign here. And now we're going to have to go through this again and put these in their own individual list. So we're going to create a smaller list. We'll call this M. And M will be a list. And then we'll do while our index is less than 50, because 50 is the length of 50 is the length of this thing right here. Well, not myString, but myString. Oh, okay, they're kind of the commas. But what they want us to do is they have us to do 50 by 50. So that's why we're gonna have index to be less than 50. And we're gonna do a for loop. So for elements and myString, we're gonna do if the element equals, and because when you import a file, everything is counted as a character, but we don't want the commas to count as a character, so we're gonna do if this equals a comma. We're then gonna append if this doesn't equal a comma, I'm sorry, we're then gonna append to the smaller M list that element. So that way everything that's not a comma will be in that list. And then after that, we're then gonna append the larger list with the smaller list with another, but we're gonna index within that list, and we're gonna split everything inside that list with a comma, right? And then we'll increment index. This is, I can see how this is confusing, but we're gonna increment index by one. But let me see. So it runs it, and now let's see our new list here. We see what happens is what the function did essentially do is it split everything. Oops, it's the earlier one. Sorry, this is the one. You see, here's the breaking point here, and what it is it took everything that we saw in the previous version of this file, and for that, when it wasn't a comma, it inserts it in a list, and then once it does that, it'll then append that list. It'll append into the larger list by separating itself with a comma. So now this is a list of its own with elements inside it, and then it breaks off to a new list, and then those are all separated by a string. As you can see up here, it was just one. See, here's where the string ends, and here's where it begins. It was just one long string, where now each number is its own string, and that's what we wanted it to do. So it's split at the point of every comma, and now each one is their own string, and from 1 to 50, which was what we did here, which is why I wanted this to be less than 50. It breaks that into its own list and then resets and then goes at it again. And so now we have it organized that way, where it lists within a list. But now we want to print it in some sort of 2D dimension, and this is pretty difficult because of the screen. But let's see how well we can manage. So we'll do index equals 0 again, and then we'll do another, index is less than 50 because it's 50 by 50. We'll do for elements and L of that index. So now we're going into the list, and into that list we're going to print each element in the smaller list. So we'll do that, and then we're going to print that element, and after it prints all the stuff within one list, we want to print empty space, that way it'll break, and then we're going to increment index by 1 to go into the next list. So it'll go to, this would be 0, and it'll print everything L to 0, which would be like 1 through 50, and then it'll go to 1, which would be the 2 through the other things. And this is going to be hard to print because of the screen. So let's run this. Oh, L is not defined. I'm sorry. I'm so used to using L as a name for a list. M. Okay. And see, this is how it should look. But then things like here start breaking up because it just ends at the end of the screen. I'm gonna wait for this to finish. Okay. So see how it starts here, 1, 2, 3. This could go all the way if we have a larger screen, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is how it should be. It should be, the bigger the screen, I guess, the better it'll look. So that's how that works. See, we store these in a list. We create a smaller, store these in the list, and then we go back into that list and store it again, and then we split it. And so, okay. So this is the code, or this could be the code. I mean, there's many ways of doing this. This is one of the ways. they give us, yeah, they give us the file here. They give us the file here, and then we then call that file stored in MyString. We then create an empty list here. We have a 0 index, and then we do a MyString, and we reassign MyString to split at equals, and create a smaller list, not a smaller list, but a sublist to the larger list, and then we create a while, and we have our index to be less than 50, so it'll be 50 by 50, and then we have a for loop to take every element within the strings that's not a comma, insert it into this list, and then after that put that in here, and then increment index by one more, and keep doing that. And that way each from 1 to 50, 2 through 100 and stuff like that, it'll be in their own list, and they'll all be split by commas, or there was a comma, or it'll split each element with a comma, and then they will have their own individual strings. And then we reset index to 0, and then this are going to be our print element here. So for lens in the sub list, we're going to print those values from the first list, and then we're going to do a blank, an empty string, increase the index, and then print that value, and so on until index equals 50. And so that's how we do the second homework assignment. Alright.